Now, all right, so we're learning programming foundations via P5, right? And that's essentially our first project. And we're learning this concept of scalable vector. We started learning this concept of scalable vector graphics, or SVGs, last class. And that's going to be a Google Doodle project. And all of these UI patterns are stuff that we can actually use. Like, yes, you can actually use a random generator to have a random background image or just a random image on your website. And one of my goals for Web 2 is just to ask yourself, like, Colin, what can I do with all this? And my answer is a whole lot. And by the time Web 3, you're asking, what can I do with all this? We can make applications, right? Not that don't just run on a website that we can install to our phones. And that's really what we're looking for, right? And so where this class gets challenging, notice I talked about courtesy, where this class gets challenging here is if you're just looking for a linear, right? Step 1, step 2, step 3, make this. Step 1, step 2, step 3, make this. I don't teach that way. And I don't think that's a good way that's what your textbook is for. Your textbook is really good about that. And I think there's another way to approach this of we're learning these concepts about it and what can we do with them. All that said, let's start with our Google Doodle project. Maybe this will help kind of isolate this. So let's go back to the home page here. All right, let's talk about Google Doodle. Okay, so I'm on Google Doodle overview. Okay, and so designers love this project. I'm keeping this project around because every quarter, everyone says this is the one that they enjoy the most. It's the one that I'm tired of seeing. But every time I say I'm tired of seeing this project, someone makes something that says, wow, every quarter, someone is pushing the bounds on this project. And every time I think that I've seen it all with this, someone else does something great. So that's why this project is still lingering around. A lot of my projects don't linger around for this long, for course to course. All right, so we all know what a Google Doodle is, okay? In your own time. So normally in class, this is a 35 to 45-minute lecture, right? And we talk about why does Google invest so much money into making these doodles, right? And so some of you remember thinking, Colin, I don't go to the google.com website, right? Just look at this Google Doodle. Like, why is this thing being made? Why does it exist? And this question that I'm asking you right now is a design question. This is a flat out UX, uh, graphic design, interaction design, like human-centered question about like, why do we have like a Google Doodle here? Google has better things to do than make these little doodles, correct? And if you add up the number of people who work on this, it gets pretty expensive. It's right. And so what we need to ask ourselves, more courtesy, y'all, log in earlier, please. All right. What we need to ask ourselves is, well, why do these things exist? So sometimes maybe for Halloween, there's a Halloween Google Doodle, right? I'm trying to give you the short version of this. The Valentine's Day, there's a Valentine's Google Doodle. And what I want you to do is pick any topic. And what you can't say to me in this project is, I didn't like my topic, because you get to pick your topic. So pick one you like. Right, designers, we need to be able to answer this question about what do we like, and we'll talk about that in the other classes that you take with me. This is idea of what are you passionate about, and what I want you to do, right, is first off pick a topic, and then what we're going to do is make sure that we understand why on earth we have interaction, animation, and story. Okay, and down here, right, in your own time, normally we watch this in class together, is a short 4-minute video, right? And if we take a look, and we might scrub through this video real fast, right, you can see how much work goes into this, right? So if you take, in some of these doodles, there's more than 10 people working on this, right? And you say they're gonna make, in the Silicon Valley, at least $100,000, you get $1 million worth of salary working on a Google Doodle. Why? And this is why this project exists. So Colin, what are you trying to do right now? It's 8:30 in the morning, right? I'm just waking up. What I'm trying to demonstrate to you is, what can we do with what we know? Right? Why on earth does this stuff exist? Right? So good? All right, so in your time, go ahead and watch this video. In your own time, get a good idea about what Google Doodles are. There is the great Google Doodle archive. Okay. What I want someday is one of our doodles to be included into this. I want one of our doodles to be so good that Google's like, we should run with this. Okay. Now you get to pick your topic. You get to pick your topic, right? This one is just, I guess, about something, stay at home and play. This one's about cats and music. Does it need to include the word Google? Yes, that's one of the requirements. And you get to pick the topic. All right, thumbs up. We all good? We have a full understanding of this project, or why this project exists for right now? Hit your space bar and say a word.
A word.
Thank you. That's all I wanted. Thank you. All right. Let me know that you're there. It's just one of you. Someone else hit a space bar and say a word.
A word.
There we go. That's that smart assery that I'm looking for. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to learn SVGs, right? And the concepts that we're going to apply are programming concepts. And what are we going to make from that? An awesome Google Doodle. All right. I showed you some examples from past class. Okay. Now let's go ahead, pop open the Master Professor pen, and let's continue with learning what we need to know to make this. Okay. So what we don't want to do is go into Flash or the standalone, what's it called? The standalone animators, right? We don't want any of that. What we want to be able to do here is draw this out with code. So I'm looking at the SVG page, right? And let's go over the overview real quick. There are a lot of tools. Colin, I don't want to code this out. I think I'm just going to use any one of these tools like Webflow, like we discussed, and just do a point and click and animate this thing on a timeline. That's all well and good. And what I'm trying to show you here is, well, why would we want to use a library like GreenSock? Why on earth would we want to use a library like Snap, right, to do these SVG animations? Notice that animation right there, right? And okay, so keep asking yourself this question. It's like, I can do this without coding a single line of code, right? With whatever tool, all these tools that you're recommending to us. Yeah, heck, you can do even some of this in Figma. If you take UX3 with me, you can do this thing in ProtoPie. Why are we coding this? Okay. And the answer is right there. But so let's go back into that. All right, here's GreenSock. This is the most popular and the preferred SVG animation library. You should go ahead and take a look at this in your own time. This GreenSock is awesome. It's really, really awesome. And that's why we're using it, because it's so awesome. All right, I'm just recapping last class, okay? Make sure you understand the pros and cons of SVGs, right? Here are all those different tools that you can use. Nuts to this, Colin. I'm just going to use any one of these tools. Okay. Where we're going to start right now is getting and making SVGs. Okay. Getting and making SVGs. All right. So for right now, let's go ahead and go to Icon Monster, our good old Icon Monster, no E. All right, what you're gonna do right now, and you can do one of two things. You can follow along, or you can just copy and paste from the Master Professor pen. Both will work. So before we can start animating SVGs, we need to understand what they are. Okay? We know that we can make them with all these different tools, and we've been using Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Vectors is this thing. Oh, good. Adobe Vectors is another one. And what we're trying to establish here is, okay, we make all these things. So what are they? So let's go into here. Someone yell out a topic.
Bananas.
Bananas? I think I heard banana.
Fruit in general, yeah.
Oh, fruit. Let's go fruit. All right, thank you. Oh, no fruit. Food. How about food? Will that work for us? My son is yelling chicken. Okay, all right, we're gonna have food. Bananas is a good one. All right, let's go. All right, I missed the voice on that last one. So whomever said that, could you go ahead and pick one from this page?
Let's do the cheese. No, let's do between those two drinks in the bottom right.
Okay.
Like that cookie, I think. Yeah.
All
so
right. Cookie. Perfect. All right. Then I'm gonna. So you get all these different formats, right? You can even get the Photoshop format. You can get the PNG for this. You can turn this into an icon font, which we looked at in last class. We're gonna go to SVG and go ahead and agree to download on this. And you can download this thing. Okay. And the first thing I have you do in classes is I just have you save an SVG file, right? And what I'm gonna do right now is, what you can't see is here on my local computer is I've downloaded that SVG. Okay. And all I'm going to do is take this SVG file that I just downloaded here, wherever the heck it is. And the easiest way to do this is just to drop it into your new tab. Right? So go ahead and just take your SVG file and just drop it into a blank browser window. And you're like, really, Colin? Like, yeah. Right? You can expand upon this. And then you're going to go ahead, Command-Shift-U, view source on this thing. All right. Command-A, Command-C, copy that out. All right. I'm going to paste this in a CodePen, and voila. There you go. There's that SVG file. Again, from last lecture, do we want the PNG version of this? No. Do we want the JPEG version of this? No. We want the actual code to make this thing happen. So we downloaded this thing, right? We viewed source on it, okay? And just copied out the SVG. We learned in last class there has an SVG parent. Okay, now everybody look at the Master Professor pen. It has an SVG parent. Okay, and inside of those are all child elements. In this case, it has a path element for the child, right? And that shape right there, this cookie shape, right, is all drawn into there. So what is the value of all this, Colin? You're losing me. Well, the first one is if you had to add a color to this, let's make a brown cookie, right? First designer is going to go, oh, now I got to go open up Illustrator and change it to brown, export it back out and upload it again. And the second designer is going to go, right, I'm going to lunch. Which designer do you want to be? And your design team says, that's too brown. How it's like, hey, how about we make it a different color cookie? I don't know of another brown type color. Is there a light brown? Your design team says, how about
like
light?
a tan?
Yeah, tan.
Beige.
Good one, beige, right? And you're like, I'm going to lunch. I'm going to lunch. Right. The other thing here is the first designer, your design team says, your client or everybody says, hey, can you animate this thing? And the first designer goes, that's impossible. You can't animate this thing. Right. And the next designer goes, let me think about this for a second. I learned about this concept called CSS animation, right? In this class called Web 1 with this really weird dude named Colin. And the first thing I'm going to do is, well, if I can set the opacity here to 0, right? And then when I hover over it and Colin says, man, you should, he's always talking in third person. He says, this is the first frame. Okay. What I'm trying to do is get you excited about this right now. He said, man, make this thing called first frame and then make this thing called last frame. Right. And then if we hover, he says, you can't animate anything unless it actually works. I say, all right, can you do first frame and fast frame? And then you can transition that with this property called transition. Right. And what are we transitioning in this case? We're transitioning the opacity. And all this is Web 1 stuff. Right. And so, well, how fast do you want to transition this? In 1 second. And we hover over this. You go to your design team and says, hey, what do you think about this for our new client? Yeah. And when we hover over something, the cookie transitions, or maybe it's at 25%. And then when we hover over it, it goes to a full 50%. Which designer do you want to be? The first one that says that's impossible, you can't animate this, or the one that says, oh, it's I know what this SVG is. We can animate this thing. All right, we good here? Yeah. Hit a space bar. Say What's the word? More word? Another word? What do I want you guys to say?
Actually, I got a question.
word.
Sure. A word. Yay. Question. Woohoo.
So is there a benefit to saving the SVG rather than just using the embed? Because when you click embed, it gives you all the same stuff that you put in there.
Oh, none. None
Okay.
whatsoever.
Okay.
The next thing we're going to do is actually optimize this. That's where the benefit lies. Yeah. So, the other one, there is one benefit. You can take this and take this file and modify it. So if you wanted to modify this file locally, Josh, I think was that you that was talking?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you wanted to, you can take this file and modify it inside of Illustrator or Sketch. That's the one benefit to saving. So I take that back.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yes, you can also hit embed and get the embed code. After we check that box, get the embed code. All right. So all of that code right there, okay, isn't optimized. It is not optimized at all. Okay. So there are lots of websites that we can get SVG from, like get SVGs. Again, we're not at the point where we're making our own SVGs just yet. Okay, we're still getting all of these. Let's see here. Who can I pick on? Adobe SVG. All right. Next thing I need you to do is go to SVG OMG. Yes, I just said that. SVG OMG. And that's under the core concepts here. All right. Where did I put optimization? Create and get an SVG. Oh, there we go. Optimize. If you just search for SVG OMG, it's probably the fastest way. You'll always land on SVG. Oh my God. All right, you should land on this website right here. As much as I love the work of Jake Archibald, this isn't the most intuitive optimizer, but it works. All right, optimize your SVGs. Third time, annoyingly, the annoying third time, optimize your SVGs. Okay. So anytime you make an SVG, there's a whole bunch of stuff that the browser doesn't need that Illustrator puts in there. Okay. So we're gonna demonstrate this right now. I'm gonna go into assets and I'm just gonna grab any random SVG that I've had from the past here. Let's see here.
Use hexagon.
What's that?
Hexagon.
Perfect. I'm worried that hexagon's already been optimized, but let's see here. All right, so I'm providing you a link to the SVG. Then you can go ahead and just go to that and then view source, okay? Command U, Option Command U, Control click, view source. We all know this from Web 1. Oh, good. All right. So, all right, thanks, Josh. So we're gonna take this SVG and this has a file size. This has a weight, right? And what we're trying to do is get this number as small as possible, right? So now if I take a look at hexagon right now, if I actually take a look at the file size, it's like, oh, 1K, what's the big deal? Well, those pennies begin to add up, right? And at any time your animation is running in your parlance janky, it's because you didn't optimize your SVG. You're trying to get this thing as small as possible. So now that we got the source code right there, we're gonna go ahead and copy it. And this is why this isn't so intuitive so much, is you're gonna click on paste markup and you'd think that you're just gonna hit Command V and just paste it right into there. And there's your optimized SVG, right? So it's kind of weird, but it's a really good tool. So again, we're at the beginning of this page, click on paste markup and you get this and just paste it right into there. And you can see right down in the bottom there how much of a savings you've had. Yeah. And we want percentage savings. Like we've essentially cut this file size in half. And if you do this for all of your assets, your SVGs are going to do what SVGs do best. Be really responsive and be really fast across different devices. And this is why we're learning this stuff, right? Like we have to do this. This is the pro tip step. This is like the step that you cannot ignore. Like part of your grade in here is how fast your SVGs and how smoothly, right, your animations are going to be. Okay. All right. Now we got that. We paste it in. Look, we've cut the file size in this in half. We can go to this right here, copy as text, and then we can paste this thing back out. Okay. Right, and it doesn't look like much, but it's half the file size, right? And we have all these optimizers to make this happen for us. So do this from wherever you get SVGs. Okay. All right, let's go get some more SVGs from other places. We'll get the view box here in just a second. Create and get SVGs. Undraw. I haven't grabbed anything from Undraw in a while. All right, let's grab one of these. Maybe these are optimized. All right, pick one.
At home,
At home.
bottom left.
All right, we're gonna get at home. I'm gonna download this SVG for your project. I'm gonna hit save on this, open this thing up in a new tab. And then I'm gonna drop this into the tab. You can see it there as an SVG. All right, I'm gonna inspect this SVG right now, and it's at 3K. It's about 3 kilobytes. You're like, that's a super small file. I bet we can get this thing even smaller. Control click, view page source. All right. Hopefully this thing's already optimized. So we're gonna copy all of the source code out. All right, go to SVG OMG, paste in our new markup. Let's see how much smaller it could be. And whoa, we shaved off a fourth. Like you all, I'm not kidding when I say this. Your text messages with all of your emojis and GIFs and all the other stuff are much bigger than this file right here. I kid you not. Your text messages to each other are much bigger in file size than this image that we're looking at right here. Right. So it's been optimized down. Like we've shaved 74% of the size. This is awesome. All right, we're gonna go ahead and copy this, and we're gonna paste this back in here. Okay, and voila. Whoops. All right, we gotta get rid of our styling there. Okay. All right. The other value to SVG is, well, let's say we wanted to change something about this. Okay. So what I want to do right now is have us get used to just looking at this code. Okay. And a good way to start doing this, believe it or not, and here's one of my pro tips here, is find all the children, right? So we have this SVG parent like so, and we have these children inside of it called path. And one of my tips is isolate one of the elements there, right? That in this case, I'm taking the first child, and watch what I'm gonna do. And this freaks everybody out. What disappeared? Put it back, right? And so what we're doing here is by doing this, we can see that this element draws that line right there. And there's no way I would have known that. Now, there are human beings on this earth. They're awesome people who can look at this code right here and go, oh, it's that line in that tree. I'm not one of those people. I'm not a machine. Okay. We can also come in here and change the fill color on this thing. But what we don't want to do is what we're doing with HTML, right? We keep HTML and CSS separate from each other. We know this, correct? And so we could come in here and say, like, make this fill line red, right? And there it goes. That line is red, but that defeats the whole purpose. If we're of HTML and CSS, so what we want to do instead here, let's find a bigger element so we can actually see this. Okay. You can also do control click inspect too, right? But I'm just trying to get you ready for the faster way here. Let's see if I have enough screen space. I'm gonna go ahead and delete that one. Let's cut this one out. Okay. There we go. All right. We have that house over there. All right. So now that we've isolated that, we can use HTML and CSS to style this thing. Okay. And if that is an element that only exists in one location, right? We can make an ID here called front of house, right? And then with good old CSS, we can come into here and select this ID of front of house. Okay, so this would be like an arm, a leg. If this is a person, right? Tree number 1, tree number 2, and then we can come here and change the fill color, right? The design team says, you know, we've seen this purple. Can we just do something in that some cyan maybe? Like, yeah, I got you covered, fam. Check. This is the first step before we can start animating. Animating is fun, but I need you to be able to individually pick out the elements that make this thing go. A non-destructive way to do this is to open this thing up in debug mode. Okay, right? Inspect it just like that. Both methods will work. Right? Literally, if you want something non-destructive, is inspect this thing right here, highlight it, and just go bloop. Did it go away? Great. Refresh it. And then I can come in here and add an ID or a class to this. I can come in here and change elements like the fill color. Again, we're not using background. We're changing the fill to Alice Blue. Okay. All right, red. Good. I might have the wrong element selected here, but you get the point. You gotta find it. Oh, it's on this ellipse. I picked the wrong one. There we go. Check, check. Let me know that you're there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And you did that just now without changing the ID, correct?
Yep. Yep. I just used the dev tools to draw on it. Right.
Okay. It knows which one because you're clicking on it and highlighting it.
Yeah. You're just
Okay.
using the dev tools a good way. Again, highlight it. You can hover over it and see what element. Right? So as you're making these, okay, and that question is a good segue into creating your own SVGs. Like, Colin, these are all great, but I want to make my own for my own topic. What I don't want you to do is worry too much. Right? Name your layers good, well, organized. Yeah. But don't worry too much about this is the top of the tree, this is the branch of the tree. You can do that later. Right? You can come here with the dev tools, just you know, create a good SVG, and then you can begin to break it up with HTML and CSS. And then we're going to animate it with JavaScript. Okay, all that said, let's go back to where we're at with this. All right, so we're good on getting and creating SVGs, right? We're not going to have an entire class on making SVGs. At this point, you should be able to, after taking 216, you should be able to, in Design 100, you should be able to make an SVG. If it's not one of your strengths, right, cite your sources. Say, I'm using someone else's SVG that I modified. Cite your source, just like on CodePen. Say, I got this SVG of a beaker from here. Okay. And then you begin to modify it. Good. Now, what is the downside of taking this this file from this website? It's someone else's animation already. So you can take aspects of it, right? But what if you wanted to change this animation? Could you change that animation? Right? And the short answer is not really, without completely taking it apart. So at that point, you might as well just make it yourself. Okay. And so it's trying to find that balance. Okay, so back and then optimize, 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 right? The whole class will know if you did or did not optimize your SVG. It will show. Okay. Right. We're like, that should be smoother. Okay, so we've gotten our primer on SVG. Okay, we have our idea of why we need what we're going to do with this. If we're going to make a Google Doodle. Now for next week, what I need you to do is have your topic picked. Okay, and the question that should never be asked is, what should my topic be? All right, designers, I can't say this enough. Very rarely after you graduate will you get to pick the topic, the client, like what you do. Okay, all the stuff, a lot of the times, especially early in your career, will get decided for you. So take advantage of this time that you get to pick your topic. Pick a topic that you're passionate about and that you want to work on. Okay, and see how we can turn that into a Google Doodle. Good, good. All right. Lastly, there's nothing on that I have found on Codecademy about SVG. If there is, let me know. I haven't seen it. What I want you to do is under, let's see here, overview. Oh, on the primer, I can link this up too. There is an entire course from Linda, right? If you need another voice on this, right? If you need someone who doesn't speak in the third person, Linda has an entire course on SVGs. How long is it? 2.5 hours. All right. We're going to cherry pick some stuff from this. We don't need to. This is all, if you really want to kind of get down to the nitty gritty of it. I want us to start using it. And I'm asking, and I want us to know just enough to start animating it. Right. But there are people who have made entire careers out of SVG. I'm not kidding about that. There are SVG experts because this is a language within itself. Okay. SVG is an entirely, it is its own markup language. It's like HTML inside of HTML. It's fascinating. And so I'm just getting you started on this. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.